5. Today, we're going to be tackling something that goes way beyond just the headlines about the Gladiators reboot on BBC One. You guys have sent us a few articles about Gladiator Apollo dealing with a stalker, along with some background on the show itself from Wikipedia. It's a, juicy celebrity drama for sure, but I think this could get really interesting when we kind of dig a little deeper.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating here is how this incident really shines a light on the underbelly of fame, especially in the age of reality TV. It makes you think about how these shows like Gladiators, walk this tightrope between celebrating these larger-than-life personalities and protecting them from the potential downsides of that exposure.
Okay, so let's set the scene.
Yeah.
The articles detail how Apollo, real name is Alex Gray, is being harassed by this woman who's shown up not just at the Gladiators set in Sheffield, but at his temporary apartment and even a public meet and greet. That's beyond just an enthusiastic fan, right?
Right. And it's escalated to the point where the police are involved, which tells you this is serious. We're talking potential stalking charges here, which in the UK can carry significant penalties. The law there is pretty clear about protecting individuals from persistent and unwanted attention, especially when it causes fear or distress.
And it makes you wonder, knowing what we know about Apollo's background, if this is hitting him harder than it might someone else.
Yeah.
This guy's a 33-year-old former professional athlete, played both rugby union and American football. He even had a stint with the Atlanta Falcons in the NFL. You'd think he'd be used to attention.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and this is where it gets really interesting. The kind of attention that you get as a professional athlete is often very different from what you experience on a reality show like Gladiators. In sports, the focus is primarily on your performance, your skills. On a reality show, it becomes much more about your personality, your personal life. It blurs the lines in a way that can feel much more intrusive.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like the audience feels a sense of ownership over these reality stars, like they know them intimately because they see them in these supposedly unscripted situations.
Exactly. And this is amplified by social media. These days, fans have unprecedented access to celebrities. They can message them directly, comment on their every move. It creates this constant pressure to engage, to maintain this persona that can be incredibly draining.
So imagine Apollo, this guy who's used to the roar of the crowd, the pressure of a big game, suddenly having to navigate this world where complete strangers feel entitled to a piece of him. One article even quotes him as saying that while he enjoys interacting with fans, it can sometimes be intense. I bet it can.
And that's where the show's producers have a responsibility, I think. They're the ones crafting these narratives, encouraging this intense fan engagement. They need to be mindful of the potential consequences, of the need to provide support and boundaries for these gladiators.
Yeah, it's like they're building up these superhuman figures, but forgetting that they're human beings underneath it all. But, okay, before we go any further down this rabbit hole, I think we need to give some context for anyone who might not be familiar with the whole Gladiators phenomenon. It was huge in the UK, right?
Huge doesn't even begin to describe it. The original show ran on ITV from 1992 to 2000, and it was appointment television. Families would gather around to watch these everyday people, the contenders, take on these elite athletes, the gladiators, in these ridiculously challenging events.
Okay, so for our listeners who might be picturing Russell Crowe in a chariot, we're talking about events with names like Hang Tough, where contenders had to cling on to rings for dear life while gladiators try to knock them off. And The Wall, this giant, almost vertical climb that tested strength and agility, was pure athletic spectacle.
It was. And it tapped into this primal fascination with competition, with seeing who's got the strengths, the stamina, the will to win. But what's really interesting is how it resonated across generations. You had kids idolizing these gladiators, parents reminiscing about their own childhood memories of the show.
And now it's back, right? This BBC revival has been a massive hit. Their first series was the biggest entertainment launch for the BBC in 7 years.
Which makes this whole stalker situation even more intriguing, don't you think? Because it seems like the more popular the show gets, the more intense that fan interaction becomes.
Absolutely, and it raises so many questions about the nature of fandom in the digital age. Is it even possible to have this kind of mass adulation without creating an environment where these sorts of incidents become more likely? How do you celebrate these larger-than-life figures without inadvertently putting them at risk?
It's like we're seeing history repeat itself in a way. Back in the 90s, these gladiators were household names, almost like superheroes to kids growing up then. I can only imagine what it's like now with social media amplifying everything. Yeah, and that's a key point, I think. This incident with Apollo isn't just a one-off. It's part of a larger pattern we're seeing across reality TV and even in the broader world of celebrity. The lines are blurring between the persona and the person. And for some fans, that distinction disappears completely.
So you've got this show that's built around, physical prowess, pushing limits, and then you layer on this intense fandom fueled by nostalgia and social media. It's a recipe for trouble, isn't it?
It can be. And it's not just about physical safety either.
Yeah.
The mental and emotional toll of this kind of scrutiny can be immense. Imagine constantly having to be on, knowing that every move you make, every word you say is being analyzed and judged by millions of people. That's a lot to handle, even for someone with Apollo's background.
And it sounds like he is handling it, at least outwardly. The articles mention that he's, quote, throwing himself into work and all the opportunities coming his way, end quote, which I guess is one way to cope.
It certainly speaks to his resilience. But it also makes you wonder, what's the cost of that resilience? Are we, as a society, so obsessed with entertainment that we're willing to overlook the potential damage it can inflict on those who provide it?
That's a big question. But to be fair to the BBC, they are pushing ahead with season 2, even adding 2 new gladiators to the lineup. And this is after one of the original gladiators got injured during filming last season, and another was revealed to have used steroids in the past. It's like they're acknowledging the human element of the show, even if unintentionally.
I think that's an important point. These gladiators, despite their, superhuman feats, are still human. They're susceptible to injury, to temptation, to the same flaws and frailties as anyone else. And recognizing that is crucial, both for the producers of the show and for us as viewers.
But how do you balance that with the inherent appeal of a show like Gladiators? People tune in for the spectacle, for the drama, for those moments that make you go, wow.
You're absolutely right. And I don't think anyone is suggesting that we sanitize the show or strip away the elements that make it so entertaining. But there's a difference between celebrating human achievement and exploiting human vulnerability. And it's that line that we need to be careful not to cross.
And me, that's where the Gladiators epic prank spin-off comes in. It's on CBBC, aimed at a younger audience. And it's basically just the gladiators messing around and playing pranks on each other. The irony is the host, Nitro, actually had to pull out of season 2 due to an injury. It's like they're trying to show the lighter side of these gladiators, remind us that they're not just these invincible machines.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy, and it speaks to the BBC's understanding of how to build a brand, how to create a whole gladiators universe that appeals to different demographics. But it also raises questions about overexposure. Could this constant presence in the media, even in a lighter context, make these stars even more vulnerable to unwanted attention?
It's a tough call. On the one hand, you want to capitalize on the show's success, give the fans what they want. But on the other hand, you have a responsibility to protect these individuals who have, in a way, become commodities in this entertainment machine.
And that's where it comes back to us, the viewers. We have a role to play in all of this. We're the ones driving the ratings, the social media engagement, the whole celebrity-obsessed culture.
So what are we supposed to do? Stop watching shows like Gladiators. Boycott reality TV altogether.
I don't think it's about boycotting or censorship. It's about being mindful, about recognizing the impact our actions have on others. It's about remembering that behind these larger-than-life personas are real people with real feelings, and they deserve our respect, even our empathy.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement, the drama, and forget that there are real consequences to all of this.
Exactly. And those consequences aren't always obvious. The mental and emotional toll of fame can be insidious. It can build up over time. We might not see the cracks until it's too late.
So how do we as viewers find that balance? How do we enjoy the entertainment without contributing to the problem?
Maybe it starts with asking ourselves some tough questions. Why are we so drawn to these shows? What is it about them that captivates us? And once we understand that, maybe we can start to consume them in a more conscious way.
I like that, conscious consumption. It's not about denying ourselves the pleasure of entertainment, but it's about being aware of the bigger picture, the human cost of what we're watching.
And maybe it's also about shifting our focus. Instead of obsessing over the personal lives of these gladiators, maybe we can focus on their athleticism, their dedication, the inspiring stories behind their success.
Right. Let's celebrate their achievements in the arena, their strength and resilience.
Yeah.
But let's also respect their privacy and their right to a life outside the spotlight.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, by doing that, we can help create a culture where incidents like the one Apollo is dealing with become less frequent, less acceptable.
So, to bring this back to our deep dive mission, it seems like this story about A gladiator and a stalker has opened up a whole Pandora's box of issues, hasn't it?
It really has. And it's challenged us to think critically about the nature of fame, the power of entertainment, and our own role as consumers in this complex ecosystem.
Yeah. We've explored the legal implications of stalking, the psychological pressures of reality TV, and the ethical responsibilities of those who produce and profit from these shows. And it's left us with more questions than answers in some ways. Like, where do we go from here? What can we as individuals do to ensure that we're engaging with entertainment in a responsible way?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I do think that awareness is a good starting point. Just acknowledging that there's a problem, that our entertainment consumption can have real-world consequences, that's a step in the right direction.
So instead of just passively absorbing whatever's thrown at us, we need to be more, I don't know, critical, more discerning about what we watch and how we interact with it.
Exactly. Ask yourself, why am I watching this? What am I getting out of it? And is there a way to enjoy it without crossing those boundaries of respect and privacy?
Because let's be real, shows like Gladiators thrive on our fascination with these larger-than-life figures. But maybe instead of focusing on the gossip, the drama, the behind-the-scenes stuff, we can channel that fascination into appreciating their athleticism, their dedication, the incredible feats they're capable of.
I think that's a fantastic suggestion. Let's celebrate their achievements in the arena, their strength and resilience, but let's also respect their privacy and their right to a life outside the spotlight.
Right. It's like we're trying to find that sweet spot where we can enjoy the spectacle without losing sight of the human beings at the center of it all.
Yeah, and that's a conversation worth having, not just in the context of gladiators, but across all forms of entertainment. This isn't just about celebrities or reality stars. It's about how we treat each other in a world where the lines between reality and spectacle are increasingly blurred.
So to wrap this up, if you could design a code of conduct for fan interaction in the digital age, what would your top 3 rules be? Think about it, because this deep dive has shown us that even gladiators need their space. Until next time, stay curious.